right, good morning, everyone. Who had a great summer? That's good. Hopefully, all of you had a great summer. Who's excited to be in class? Some people. Wow, I'm surprised. I shouldn't admit to be surprised by that, but it is good to be back in class here. Certainly, it's going to be a great semester. So today, we're just going to cover two quick topics. Might let out a few minutes early, probably not 30 minutes early though. So we're going to cover the syllabus, go over my expectations for class, and we're also going to cover email etiquette. Email etiquette will be on the exam. I'm not going to put my syllabus on the exam. That'd just be silly, but I know some people do, so I'm not going to say too much there. Of course, this is BA 223, Introduction to Data Analysis. It's going to be taught in this room right here. Probably figured that out. It's an in-person class. I do expect you to attend every day. Then my office is, well, let me rephrase that. Where I'm hosting office hours is EBH 050. It's the IS lab, so it's going to have a lot of cool equipment in there. I'm going to be in office hours from 10 a.m. until noon. I think this class ends, when does this class end? 9:55? Good, I do have time to get to office hours. Wouldn't that be funny if I overbooked myself? Wouldn't be that funny, but I'd get a good kick out of it. So course description, I'm just going to read this off briefly. Technologies are being used to change how organizations communicate internally and with external partners. Design and execute decision plans. These technologies have been integrated into an exciting discipline that is integral to all business activities. This course investigates technologies, methods, and practices used to perform data-centric analyses for improved decision-making. So basically what that means is we're going to do some stuff with data in here. It's going to be an exciting class. Who's got some Excel experience? Hopefully everyone in here will have some Excel experience by the end of the semester. Anyone ever used a SQL database before? Structured Query Language Database. Okay, got a couple people in here. That's good. So that's basically what the whole class is. It's going to have some additional components as well. I'm really excited to talk about those in just a little bit here. So we've got 6 labs. Those are going to be worth 30% of your grade. I'll take the highest 5, and that's going to be your lab average. So, for example, if someone gets 100% on 5 labs, and let's say they blow one off maybe accidentally, maybe on purpose, whatever the reason is, what is their lab average? 100%. That's exactly correct. Now, let's say someone gets 100 on 4 labs and blows 2 off. What's their lab average going to be then? 80%. So you don't want to blow too many off. In fact, you don't want to blow any off because one of them may be difficult. You may not do well on it. Hopefully you will do well on all of them, though. 2 exams in here are going to be closed book. They're going to be closed note. Haven't decided if they're going to be paper exams or not yet. But either way, you won't be able to use any resources beyond your brain. Participation is 10% of your grade. The way that's going to work is part of it is attendance. So if you attend and you don't miss more than 3 classes, unexcused, you won't lose any points there. But you don't gain any points either. So participation is really derived from, do you answer questions? And also, you'll see on the schedule, which I revised a little bit, fixed a few typos that I made accidentally. Don't have it in front of me. But basically, there's going to be several days. I think there's like around 5 or 6 days throughout the semester where we're going to have an article, or we're going to have some, news story. Maybe it is a journal article. Don't know yet. But we're going to have them. I'll send them out. We'll discuss them on whatever day they're assigned. If you come to class and I ask a question, and it's obvious that you haven't read it, it's not going to do well for your participation grade. So I do definitely recommend that you read them before class. You come to class. Some days we'll do a debate. Some days we'll just have a discussion. But either way, I expect you all to be prepared on those days. Is that fair? You'll have them at least a couple days before. I'm going to try to have them to you a week before, just to give you a full week to read them. Analytical report, we'll talk about that more toward the middle of the semester. But as you may expect, you'll basically be given some project, and you and your partners will come up with some report. You'll present it to the class. I expect you to do a good job on the presentation. Expect you to do a good job on the report. I think that's fair as well. You'll have plenty of days in class to work on it. You can also, of course, work on it outside of class if that works better. Probably won't require attendance on those days, but I do require that you work as a team. So, for example, let's say that you're on a team. There's 4 people on a team. I don't know if there will end up being 4 people on a team, but let's say there are. Okay, and let's say that 3 of the 4 people say, this person did not do anything on the project. Well, I'm going to give you a 0. If your entire team comes to me and says, this person didn't do anything on the project, you're getting a 0. So don't do nothing. Certainly, work as a team, be reasonable. That's all I ask there. Of course, this adds up to 100%. One thing is that I am a little bit particular about getting exactly on the line, so I ground to the 1,000th decimal spot. If you have 89.500, that's an A. 89.499, that's a B. Some people don't like that method. I personally do. I think it's fair. You have to set the line somewhere. That's exactly where I set it. You can see, set it at that 0.5 level. So if you're 0.5 or more, I raise the score. If you're 0.4 or less, you don't get the score raised. So, certainly if I do bonus throughout the semester, I recommend that you do it. I don't require that you do it, but it's certainly something I would recommend doing. Any questions about grades so far? Pretty straightforward. So, go over a couple more general policies that I have in class. Number 1, please be respectful. Be respectful to each other, be respectful to me, and I'll be respectful to you. Don't need to go too much into that. I don't accept any late work. If you submit something 1 second late, it's not going to be counted. Don't cheat. You can really only cheat on 1 category of assignments here. Of course, exams are going to be taken independently. Labs, you can work with people in labs. I don't mind. Participation, well, it's pretty much something that you're going to be doing right in front of me, so it's not really possible to cheat on that. And the analytical report, just don't plagiarize. Certainly you want to avoid plagiarism. We'll talk about that when we introduce the project, but you probably know what plagiarism is by now. You probably know how to avoid it. Cite your sources, cite them appropriately. I'll give you the citation style when it comes time. And then lastly, attend class. So we're going to talk about the specific attendance policies. Like I said before, you have 3 free unexcused absences. Anything after that is when I start deducting from your participation grade. I'm not going to deduct from your overall course grade, just that 10%. So let's say, for example, someone misses 3 classes without an excuse. What is their participation grade, assuming that it would be 100 otherwise? So based on this policy right here, what is that answer going to be? So they get 3 free, and then anything after that is when I start deducting. So if someone misses 3, what are we going to have for the participation, assuming it would otherwise be 100? 100%, exactly. Let's say someone misses 5 classes and would otherwise have 100%. They're all unexcused absences. Then what would their participation grade be? 50%. So you definitely don't want to miss classes without an excuse. Now, I have a reasonable excuse policy. It's in line with what you would expect to see. It covers things like if you're ill with a contagious illness, please stay home, Go to the health center, get a note, whatever. I only require a note after 2 or more absences, so I'll give you 2 excused absences if you say you're ill, unless it's an exam day. Then I would require a note. I think that's fair and reasonable. Give you the benefit of the doubt for 2 times, but not 3 times on that. So you can miss 5 classes without a note, and you would still be able to earn 100%. I'm not saying I recommend that, but I'm saying you could by my policies that I set. Does that make sense? Okay. So other things covered. We've got illnesses we talked about. Religious holidays. If you have a religious holiday you want to go to, by all means, that's an excused absence, of course. Death in your immediate family. Of course, I'll excuse that. Military service. Of course, I'm required to excuse that as well. And there's a few other things as well. I don't remember them off the top of my head. They're in the syllabus. But yeah, it's a reasonable excuse policy. If you think it should be excused, it probably will be, but I can't make any promises. Another thing that's excused, of course, is going to be participation in a college-sanctioned event. If someone at the department head level or higher emails me that you should be absent. For example, Let's say that someone misses because they're on a sports team. Well, their coach would certainly have that information over to me. Obviously, that's going to be excused. Now, let's say that someone misses because they're on something that doesn't have, someone to say that, then it won't be excused. Does that make sense? But you get 3 free on excuse, so don't worry about it. Any questions about the excuse policy? Does that make sense? Is any of it unclear? Okay. Like I said, it's in the syllabus if you want to read the specific language there, but it's what you'd expect from a college. I mean, let's be honest. There is no textbook. Make sure that you look in Canvas for any readings that we may have. If I send out an article, I'll probably send it via email as well as post it into Canvas. Same thing with like a news story. I'll send out 2 ways as well for news stories in particular. I'll send out both a link to the story itself, and I'll also send out an archive link. And the reason I send out archive links is because with an archive link, let's say that you don't have access to some news story. I assume you do. With the archive, you'll be able to see it regardless, basically. So it just kind of bypasses a lot of those things that would otherwise prevent you from being able to read it. So just make sure that you take a look and be on top of things a little bit. We won't have to worry too much about anything. Possible course delivery changes. I have a personal YouTube channel. For this class, I'll be recording it. So don't say anything you wouldn't want to be on YouTube, I guess. But the good news is the mic pretty much hears me, probably won't hear you, at least not very well. So feel free to subscribe to it as a personal YouTube channel. You're under no obligation to do anything on it. And I'll, of course, send out any information should that occur via campus email. So make sure that you're on top of that. Yeah, so basically, let's say hypothetically, I'm out one day. I'll probably record a lecture, probably post it on my YouTube channel, probably send a link out to everyone. So yeah, that's probably how it'll work. If it's a longer period of time, I'll of course communicate that. It'll all be done via campus email. Pretty straightforward there. A little bit about me. So I'm Andrew Miller. You guys call me Andrew. Some hobbies that I have. I really like tennis. Any tennis players in here? You any good? Okay. Good stuff. You any good? Okay. Good stuff. I'm kind of intermediate. I'm not the best ever, but I'm not the worst ever. Any other tennis players? All right. Also like hiking. Heard there's like 300 miles of trails in La Plata County. That's a great place to be, isn't it? One of the best places in the country for that. Love kayaking. Really enjoy that. It's always a lot of fun. Skiing. I know we've got some skiers in here. We've got the Purgatory up there. Got so many other very nice and beautiful resorts within just a very short distance of us. So it's a very good place to be. My research I do, I look at IT investments. Might not interest you that much, but what I do, look at an individual firm. Actually, I look at every firm, but that's another story. Look at firms, look at what they're investing in IT and how that affects their performance in other measures. So that's what I did for my dissertation. That's what I'm doing for some additional studies as well. It's a really interesting field to me. May not be interesting to you, though. Did my PhD at Mississippi State University. I did my undergraduate degree at University of North Georgia. So it's another school up there in the mountains. Not nice mountains like this, though. They're good mountains. It's not the Rockies. I'm originally from Georgia. So now we're going to take a minute and just go around the room and give me your name, where you're from, hobbies, and your ideal job. So let's take a minute to do that. You want to start us off? Okay. Good stuff. I guess we'll go to you next. What type of management? Okay. So, want to get up there to those high-level jobs, I see. All right, you're next. You got a little bit of time for that. Are you Nick Mohan or Nick Padilla? Mohan, gotcha. Just making sure. Okay. Gotcha. Nick Padilla, right? Got the corner of Nick's over there. I know you're not Nick. We've only got 2 Nicks in class. What's your name? Okay. So, entrepreneur in here. Okay. Well, what position you play? Right tackle. Well, I better be on my good behavior. I might get tackled in here. I'm kidding, of course. Okay. A lot of ski companies around. Okay, so you want to like get a JD after this, or good luck. Gotcha. What position you play in softball? Okay. We got a little bit of time. Don't worry too much. Okay. So you're gonna be an IS major, or are you gonna do C, or what's your plans there? Gotcha. We got a little bit of time to decide your major. Still got some time. Okay. Gotcha. I didn't hear the last part. Like I say, you got some time. All right, we'll go to the back over there. You said corporate IT? Corporate accounting. Okay. Yeah, a lot of great opportunities. You know, you got the, is it big 3 or big 4? I always forget. I know there's some scandals a while back, reduced the number of them. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Got a couple future lawyers in here. It's I better watch what I say. I might get sued. Hopefully not. Okay. Gotcha. You're gonna be an IS major? Okay, good stuff. Gotcha. Yeah, economics is always a field, I guess. So Gotcha. So you want to be a pro golfer, eh? What's your what do you call it in golf? It's like, what's your standard amount that you hit? Okay, not bad, not bad. I'm not a golfer, obviously. Okay. Good stuff. I just want to take a second here. Is Dylan here? Dylan, is Lance here? No Lance. Leighton or Leighton? Leighton, I'm not sure. And then is Sue here? Okay. Just wanted to take attendance, so that's why I'm asking. Yeah, so I would recommend, what is a general census? How many freshmen we have in here? Just a quick little hand raise. Few freshmen, sophomores? Good many sophomores. Juniors? Some juniors. Seniors? Okay, one or two. So I would recommend to all of you that when you get a chance to certainly do an internship. An internship's a great way to get some job experience. It's a great way to meet employers. It's not uncommon at all to do an internship and to then go work for that employer once you graduate. So that'd be a great opportunity. And beyond that, let's say I'm a hiring manager and I'm reviewing applicants. And I have one applicant who has internship experience, maybe 1 or 2 summers, worked at different firms in the field, and I have another who has no experience. Who do you think I'm more likely to hire? Anyone think I'm more likely to hire the person with no experience? All things equal, ceteris paribus. Probably more likely to go with the person with experience. So I'd highly recommend to all of you that you go visit Career Center or that you go find your internships on your own and just do an internship as you can. So that's certainly a good thing to do. And also, for those of you who don't know what job you want to do yet, it'd be a great opportunity to sort of explore a career without, spending years and years in that career. Because that could be kind of problematic if you're doing that. So now let's take a couple minutes. You don't have to do this, but I'd encourage you to. I think it's good to have contact information of people in the class. You just want to turn to your neighbors, get some contact info. We'll take a couple minutes, and then we'll cover the rest of the material for the day. So just take a couple minutes and do that. All right, anyone need more time? Feel free to quietly talk if you need a little more time. Just don't be too loud, of course. So yeah, now we're going to switch gears a little bit, talk just a hair about email etiquette. So, anyone ever sent an email before? Hopefully you've sent an email at some point. We're going to talk about how to do that in a professional way. So, rather than just sending an email as you would a text message or as you would a Snapchat or any of those other ways to communicate, email's a little bit more formal. And a lot of that history comes from the business memo, which is, of course, short for memorandum. So when you think about how an email is laid out, what's one of the first things you put in? You have the to, then you have the CC, you have the BCC, then you have the subject line. That's exactly like a memo. So when you think about a traditional business memo, email kind of evolved a lot from that. And some of the conventions that you use in a professional setting reflect that evolution. So today we're going to cover email etiquette, how to send messages, and of course when not to send messages. This is an important thing as well. There's certainly some times where you would not want to send a message. So I've just got a quick little video here that I'm just going to play, and I'm just going to pause it as we go and kind of make sure that we cover everything we need to with it. So let me just do a little adjustments on the recording here, and then I'll go ahead and play it. Sorry about that, guys. I got to go back and forth a little bit. What are some other problems with it? What you got? So there's missing a period right here. I need some help. That's a complete sentence. I, subject, need some help. That's the predicate. So certainly you want to make sure that you're following the appropriate rules of the language that you're speaking. Any other things we want to point out about it? What you got? Yeah, no subject, no closing. So still missing some stuff. So let's go ahead and I'm not going to play the whole video. It's kind of cheesy. So basically he goes to the writing center and he gets a little bit of help, but he's going to have another email that he's going to send out. So let's just go ahead and skip over to the next email. Is that cool with everyone? Okay, so here we go. So now we have another email. What are some other problems with this email? What you got? Okay, so, starting an email with hey, it's really informal. Definitely would want to avoid that. So I certainly agree there. What are some other problems? What you got? Kind of vague. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing on the midterm essay. That's not very descriptive. To say, I have no idea. Do you not know how to open Word? Do you not know how to format it? Do you not know what topic to pick? Do you not know how to cite. So, I mean, there's so many different problems you could have. Why not list the problems that you have and say, I'm having trouble with X, Y, and Z, as opposed to saying this? So that's a great point. Any other things we want to point out here? What you got? So there's no opening and there's no closing. Great point. And then also, all caps. That's not a great way to send email. It just kind of communicates that you're maybe angry, that you're yelling, whatever. You want to avoid that. So he goes back to the Writing Center yet again, and let's see his final email. Okay. So anyone want to point out anything about this one? Well, I'll take a stab at it. So he's going back and forth to a Writing Center, right? That's the whole purpose of this video. He still can't figure out what topic to write about. Isn't that kind of funny? You know, imagine going to a Writing Center multiple times and you still don't know what you're doing with the writing. Not the best Writing Center, but you didn't hear that from me. So it's a better email, although basically he's just saying he's having some trouble. Could you send him some example topics? Now, went through an awful lot to figure that out, didn't he? So that's just kind of an interesting little way to get started talking about emails. Any questions so far? Feel free to ask questions as needed. So whenever you're talking about this, it's important to have a greeting. You know, say good afternoon, good morning, or to say hello, or whatever you want to use. You know, and then have the person you name so you're addressing it to. Whoever's in the to field. So if you have an email, you have to, and you're CCing someone, carbon copying, you'd say hello, person you're sending it to, not the person you're carbon copying or anything like that. Just be polite. You know, certainly be reasonable there, and then have a closing. So this is where you're going to say thank you, or thanks, or sincerely, or respectfully, or something like that. Just whatever you want to use, put your name there. You know, certainly pretty straightforward. Not doing anything too crazy with the subject and the greeting rather in the closing. So speaking of that, you want to make sure that you're not having a very long email. Anyone like to receive just pages and pages in your email? Anyone like that? You probably don't. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your messages around 6 sentences or fewer. You don't necessarily want to have, you know, you can get away with 7, but, you know, don't send out paragraphs and paragraphs. If you need to send out paragraphs and paragraphs, what can you do? You can send it as an attachment. So, you know, make a file, maybe a Word document, maybe a PowerPoint, whatever you need to do, send it out in an attachment as opposed to attaching it just all inside of the text in the body. So for the title, it's another way to say the subject. I'll make sure that you're not having that be too long. So the same thing with like a signature at the bottom, where you have your name, maybe you have where you're located. You want to have, you know, any contact information that you need. But some people go a little bit overboard with that, and they may have the title of their name. It may be 20 lines. I've seen that before. That makes all of your emails very long. If they're printed, it makes it very expensive to print because you may have one sentence and it may be half a page. So that's not very, just not a good way to do things. So certainly you want to make sure that you only have maybe 5 or 6 things inside of your title. Job position, location, phone number, that sort of information. And then one of the most important things in an email is that you're being concise as possible. You don't want to communicate information that, you know, is communicated multiple times. So instead of having, you know, 20 sentences, shorten it down to 5. You know, instead of having 20 different bullets, see if you can consolidate any of those. You want to make sure that you're covering everything, but that you're being as concise as possible. So it's a good balancing act. It can take a little bit of practice. With the tone of the email, you always want to make sure that you're conveying the information in a manner that's professional. Because anything you put in an email could haunt you for the rest of your career or even the rest of your life. Now, is it likely to? No. But if you're unprofessional enough, it could certainly backfire quite a bit. So, you know, there could be some cases where you need to be firm. Let's say that you are doing some contracts, or let's say you're having some contracted work done on your behalf. It may be appropriate to be firm with a contractor who isn't living up to their agreement. But it could also be that it's inappropriate to do so. So you never want to be rude, but you want to make sure that whatever you're doing, just keeping those things in mind. Subject of the email. You also make sure that it tells what the email's about. For example, if you're sending a professor an email, it's a great idea to put the class inside the subject. So for this class, what is it, BA 223? You put a little hyphen, and then put whatever your subject is. That's a great way to kind of tell people this is what the email is going to be about. I'll make sure to not go in much more than 8 words on that. You can go to 9, but it's a good rule to keep it 8 or fewer. So just kind of keep that in mind. Subject always describes what the email is about. Miscellaneous tips, just some kind of housekeeping things to make sure that everything that you're doing with email is appropriate. So if you have something that you're requesting, let's say you are building a house, and you want to say, you want to get a bid, basically. So you say, these are my specifications. Will you please return the bid for this specification by this date? Thank you, name. Pretty straightforward. So then you want to make sure, of course, you're using proper spelling and grammar. Now, why is proper spelling and grammar important in an email? Anyone want to take a stab at that? Why do you think so? Exactly. So it certainly is not good to have spelling and grammar mistakes in an email because people they assume that you don't know what you're doing. And you don't want that. Don't expect an immediate response. Email is an asynchronous way to communicate. What does that mean? That means that when you send an email, it's not like a phone call where, if you say something on the phone and you don't hear a response in a couple seconds, you're like, did the call drop? Is the person still breathing? Like, what's going on? Email's not like that. With email, you want to be kind of cognizant and expect about a 24-hour response. So I look at email a couple times a day. Personally, I check it in the morning. I check it midday, sometimes during office hour, and then I check it at the end of the day. So end of the day, I mean like 4 or 5 o'clock. And if someone responds, or someone sends me a message, I check it according to that time. I don't check email on Sundays. Personal reasons for that, but something I don't do. Certainly no one expects you to check email on the weekends, but I might take one look at it on Saturday. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then whenever you're writing an email, if you have multiple action items, let's say you want that quote, you want to have this amount of square feet. That could be a bullet point. That could be a numbered list. You want to have this type of flooring. That can be in a bullet point. So you kind of see, whenever possible, you want to separate things out like that to make it easier to read. So now let's talk about when you wouldn't want to send an email. So if you had something that was a sensitive issue, maybe it's something like Social Security numbers, would you want to send that via email? Why or why not? Anyone say they would send that via email? There's a lot better ways to send it. Definitely don't want to send anything secure because email, for the most part, is an unencrypted medium. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but for the most part, just know that anything sent could potentially be intercepted. And that could be very bad. Also, let's say that there's something, it's a pretty bleak topic, but let's say someone passed away. That's not a good thing to send via email because that's not a very warm way to communicate with someone. That's why, I hate to say it, but if there's a notification, they make every effort to go to the person face-to-face, knock on the door. That's a warmer way to communicate. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. Another time not to send an email. Let's say you're impaired on something. It could be drugs, it could be maybe you had a little bit too much to drink, whatever. Definitely would recommend against sending an email right then and there because it's recorded forever. And then lastly, this one should go without saying, but anything that could be used against you, if you're committing a crime, you definitely don't want to put that in email. Why not? It's stored forever, basically. So let's say someone commits a crime, that email gets subpoenaed, then basically it can be used against you. So you don't want that. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting you commit crimes. I'm anti-committing crimes, just to be clear. But if you are to commit a crime, don't email people about it. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions so far? Okay, we've got a couple minutes left. I'm going to go through some different emails. This is a decent email right here. It's not too long. The signature is not too long. Subject's appropriate. This is an email saying, thank you for the job position interview. Nothing really majorly wrong with it. There's some things you can clean up a little bit, but for the most part, it's a reasonable email. Here's one that's okay. A couple problems with it. Number one, they forgot to attach the proposal that they said they attached. Number two, there's no subject. You always want to include a subject so that people understand what the message will be about. And then number three, the signature is just a little bit long. I always have a pet peeve against sticking an email address in someone's signature because they inherently know what your address is if you're sending them an email. So I think that's kind of something that could certainly be cut. Beyond that, I think that the fax, most people don't use fax, so probably don't need it either. Stuff like that. Here's a bad email. Why is this a bad email? A couple of reasons. Why do you want to take a stab at this? Why this is bad? What do you think? Too long? Okay, certainly it's a long email. Can anyone read this from where they're sitting? Probably not. I'm not going to read it out loud. It's pretty boring. It's just a bad email I found online when I Googled bad email. So, yeah, it's not really important, but just know you don't want to send anything that long. Now, here's one that's a little bit humorous. I'll read parts of this. So, basically what they said was, any color you can add to your application will be appreciated. So what the person did was they went through their email and they did different font colors. So the first they put in red. I would have to agree with you that passion outbeats a GPA 99% of the time. Now, first of all, outbeats is not proper grammar. You would say beats, or better yet, you'd say like surpasses or more important than, but outbeats is not proper. So you definitely want to make sure it's proper grammar. But then this is red, then it goes to a bolded black font, then it goes to a bolded purple font. I do have the passion to be successful and to grow with a company. So you kind of see, they use different colors. And then he says, please explain your rationale for the rainbow. And he says, one of the most important details of the message to stand out. I also misunderstood what you said about adding color to the message. So I find that kind of humorous. It's not like roll out of your chair or anything, but it's kind of humorous. So you definitely don't want to do that. That's not a good example there. Of course, a phishing email, you never want to click any links, especially from non-trusted addresses, but even from trusted addresses, you want to avoid clicking links because addresses can be spoofed pretty easily, and also addresses can be compromised. So there's two ways even a trusted address could potentially send out malicious links or worse, malicious files, although modern detection will probably not let those in your inbox. So be mindful of that. So just kind of wrap things up. You want to make sure that your emails have a helpful subject, they have a good salutation and closing, that they're not too long, they're kind of conveying what they need to without going over, and that they're also polite and professional. Any questions about the email or any questions about class? All right, well, I forgot to cover it, but for the electronics policy, use whatever you want, just be respectful. That means obviously no music that you're playing in the middle of class, but if you want to check an email, whatever, I don't care, just don't distract other people. Yeah, apart from that, have a great day, everyone.